Why are my shoes so gross?
Sorry, this is a crazy question. Are you the soy pill?
I'm the soy pill. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Oh my god, I'm a subscriber. I love
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
See, look how tight you have to be to like talk with this. Or you have to be like here.
They're saying something about your shoes?
I don't know. One person's like, your shoes are gross.
What does that mean?
Welcome to being a woman.
Someone has drawn, I don't know if this graph has been going around, someone's drawn
ADL graph?
the right-wing extremist graph. Like in chalk. I think that's
A lot of
funny.
methodological errors with the ADL graph. For every single Republican out there, even when you do good methodological processes that you guys like, you still do more violence.
Well, I saw a Tim Pool graph this morning.
We're live on stream. Can we talk to you guys?
Yeah.
Show off your cool hat. You guys have matching hats, practically.
Hat stream. TF2 stream.
How do I feel about the current state of college campuses?
And political discourse, yeah.
I feel like depending on the campus you're in, it feels very different because there are some campuses where like they're shutting down all sorts of programming, which I don't think should be allowed because of free speech.
Yeah.
And I feel like based on the school you're going to, it changes whether or not you kind of can feel safe there.
So you feel safe here? Is this like a blue kind of school, red school, a mixed school?
I'd say it's like majority blue, but it's like a mix. We're surrounded by a lot of red though, so it's really interesting because you see all sorts of different people. And I think the average person is like, deep down, I think they're against hate, but it's just things are extreme right now and it pushes people to extreme opinions.
Yeah. Do you think, what were your views on Charlie as a commentator? And just to be clear, you are live, so if you have a very extreme view, you can't advocate for certain things, but as much as you can be honest within the terms of service of YouTube,
Yeah.
what were your views?
I think he kind of sucked. I don't think anybody deserves to die from gun violence, but ironically, he also advocated for it.
And so, yeah, like these are acceptable. You're talking about that comment where you said, shootings are awful, but I don't want to take away the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of irony. Yeah, okay.
I mean, with the Second Amendment, I agree with open carry, but I think we need safer regulation and registration.
Hell yeah, same. Yeah, I'm a gun rights advocate, but I say it should be at least as hard as getting a car.
Yeah.
It should be at least as hard as getting your license.
They should have why don't they have a test for it? Like,
They should have a
where
test.
they show that you know how to trigger the safety and all that.
Yeah, there'd be far fewer accidents and longer waiting periods. It would cost more to get them.
Mm-hmm.
At worst, I guess it would be a tax on poor people, but they commit the most gun crimes, so,
I guess so.
Yeah. Hi. Do you also have opinions? You look opinionated. Your eyebrows look like you want to say something to us.
I'm just listening.
Oh, okay.
All right, you got more questions?
I have opinions.
Go
What are
ahead.
your opinions?
First of all, you need to tell the hair story.
Do I?
Come a little bit more.
Okay.
See you on stream. Nobody gets to steal symbols.
Yes.
I
Don't get the
agree.
cross, and they don't get to tell people they're not allowed to use it. Nazis, and also groypers do this intentionally to fuck with the left.
Yeah, the
Where they'll just be
okay
like,
symbol.
This is our new thing because they know that we like it, and then we take the bait and we're like, oh yeah, actually we can't use that. It's like, no, fuck you, groypers. You don't get to take all of our shit. Like,
I'm a Jewish man. I woke up one day. It was Holi Festival. Are you aware of Holi? Yeah, it's in Hinduism, like the one with all the colors and all that. I think it's like I want to say a week long. I don't remember. I wake up in my apartment. I have an Indian roommate. Swastikas all over the floor.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh my God, am I being hate crimed? No. Yeah, I took an edible. I wake up. It's sometimes.
It happens.
Yeah, you paint it in your sleep.
Edible story.
No, so she was just Hinduism decorating, and you know what? They didn't let the Nazis steal it, so why should we give them our lightning bolts?
I agree.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Sometimes you got to stretch at a 45-degree angle with your palm outstretched, and you know what? We're not letting them steal that from us.
like when the queer community took back the word.
Yes.
You get to take
Which word?
shit.
What-
Queer.
Oh.
It's a slur.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the F
It's
slur.
like, no. That's a word. Well, they're working on that one right now. To be fair.
That's how I identify, literally, as queer.
Yeah. Well, in like the 80s, that was like a slur.
It was a slur.
And then the queer people were like, actually, we like the word, so it's hard now.
Actually.
We take it back.
Queer with the hard R.
The heart.
The hard R.
Hard on.
Yeah, straight. Yeah. So,
So, your political opinions, other than the fact that we look like a Nazi group.
little bit. So, okay. I wouldn't say I'm libertarian.
Good.
I'm radical
Anti-establishment.
left enough to where let's get the guns back. I'm gonna I wonder what a Trump supporter would say to me having a gun. Like a
Most of them
liberal.
would be okay with it, I would say.
Like, Did you see like the NRA speak out like really strongly against Trump trying to take
Bump stocks or that too, you
Like,
know.
the NRA was like very like no.
Really,
A
that's
lot
good.
of MAGA also stuff.
Which is
That's
which
good.
is cool, yeah.
They'd probably be fine with it.
I mean,
They'd be like, finally, holy shit.
That's a slippery slope. It's like you start taking guns away from one group and it just spreads.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's kind of what their argument is.
Yeah.
I think the only people that would be opposed are the same people that say, "Oh, look at your hair. You're mentally ill. Give me your gun." You know?
I've had that happen. 3 times on campus so far in the past week, I have been approached by someone, white males each
Whoa.
time, clearly very conservative, because two of them had country music playing from a speaker on their hip, and another one had a beer in his hand.
Oh wow.
And
So they say, "This is MAGA country."
It was on fish. Exactly. Fish in the other.
right,
Just gone.
it was like the symbolism was insane. But all 3 times they came up to me, they're like, it was different, but it was the same message. Like, you have blue hair. I bet you're glad that he's dead. I bet your side was involved in it. You all conspired to kill him.
Yeah,
As if it wasn't a right person who shot him. Like
like a.
Well, to be fair,
it wasn't a right
it's a black
person.
person.
It
We're
wasn't
not
sure. Oh yeah.
We're pretty sure.
we're sure.
I would say it's about 75%.
At the very least, someone who didn't like Charlie Kirk, and not because he was not right wing enough, because he was hateful.
It looks like it's not though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like
But either way, it was
Most
a
of the
white
dating
man.
trans people are generally left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a white male. Thankfully, I was very worried that if it was a marginalized
It'll get things will get
person, things would get worse. Like if it was a trans.
To be fair, they're going to do that anyway.
Well-
They already thought it was a trans person before we knew anything. Now that it's come out that it's not a trans person, it's that he had a trans lover, which is enough for them. Yeah. So,
Roommate was like his partner.
who, by the way, is who helped turn him in? Yeah. If anything, should be one of the heroes of this story.
Well, but they're not
Yeah.
going to say that.
No.
No,
They're
of
not
course
going to
not.
admit that.
I've seen some.
Yeah.
I've seen, so like there's some crazy MAGA pundits, but if you actually talk to like more normal people, most of them are like, no, get on that roommate. Like that's amazing. Like they turn against like their partner, like their loved one.
I've talked to
or
Ben-
in a state that has the death sentence. Like that's a really big, tall ask. So I have seen that. I've also seen the.
And what's
same
more
thing.
gender affirming than saying, "I don't trust my partner to not turn me in"? You know, these women going behind my back, stabbing me in the back. Yeah, I think that's, if anything,
I
yeah.
have seen a lot of conservatives on campus who have been like nice to me. They've been like, no, like I don't care that you have blue hair and pronouns.
Most
You're
people
cool."
are nice.
Hear me out.
Most people are nice.
So do you guys watch like Twitch or anything like that?
I have 0 social media.
Okay.
I mean, I used to, not anymore.
Guess what percentage was discovered to be bots on Twitch?
Oh, probably
like
60.
80.
Too high. Now my number looks
40?
lame. 40%.
That's still
That's
insanely
still
high.
high.
Almost half.
What's the
Yeah.
dead internet theory?
Guess what Kick is?
Oh, it's got to be a bunch, right? Because like people stream on Nick Fuentes is like, he's got 400,000 live viewers, and it's like,
Million on Rumble. I was like, there's no.
yeah.
A million on Rimble Timble, and I'm like, what's Rimble Timble?
Yeah.
It's an offshoot of Tubi.
70%.
Jesus Christ.
And the FBI said that when they were trying to do like the discovering who the shooter was, they were inundated with bots. Which leads me to how many bots are on Twitter?
Oh, what's the
It's
dead
all-
internet theory?
Well, no, hold on, no, whoa. Elon Musk got rid of bots.
I'd guess
Yes.
30%. I would guess it's way higher because
so much
in the case of Twitch, the only people putting bots on there are people paying for it themselves because they want to inflate their views. On Twitter, we know that Russia and China put bots on there to stoke like ideological divide, right? So there's a lot of people being like, look at all these crazies on the right. And there are, especially their pundits, right? And then like the normal, there's some crazy MAGAs and there's some like normal conservatives. And then they'll be like, look at all these crazy people on the left. And again, there are some really extreme people on the left that were like celebrating it and mocking it. But most people are like, no, like we don't want people to get killed. Like we just like
Wait.
with their ideas.
You're saying I'm crazy if I mock it? Because there's a few things I got to go on Twitter and delete.
As much security as there's going to be, and as much like we're gonna fight against hate speech. There are always going to be those on the opposite side who believe that my existence is just fundamentally wrong, and they're never gonna really let that go.
Yeah?
Yeah, it seems like right now we have a political world where there is just like radical. I really hate this left and right conversation about most of the fucking people who have done radical like political shootings are on like Discord sub niche groups. Like
They're Discord
they're like,
mobs.
are they left or right? And I'm like, I don't know. Tankies and Groypers are in the same fucking Helldiver server, so I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Exactly.
They're out there doing something. They're inventing a new political party.
if they're voting, they I guess would separate left and right because like the tankies like queer people and the radical right does not.
What are these terms, tanky tankies and gripers? I've never heard these before.
Oh, it's so weird to explain to a Zoomer.
Hey,
I
I'm
feel like
almost 20.
I feel like I know what a tanky is, but groiper, that's a newer term, and I
It's
don't know
a
it
fan
yet.
of Nick Fuentes, a neo-Nazi.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're accelerationists like tankies are, but for like theocracies and fascism.
Okay, nice.
Well,
But they hang out together because they all hate like the same people, especially Jews.
And tankies are more like...
did you point at me when you said Jews? You're like, Jews. Hey, you know, like,
Not
It's okay, you're asking.
not right now.
they don't like us.
You're white enough. You'll
I'm white enough? Yeah.
Crazy.
I've got the foreskin, all right? Like, they can't do their phrenology on me, all
I
right?
was a little worried when you came up to me. I was like, that might be a conservative man.
I look
Was-
conservative?
You do.
With the hat
I mean,
even?
the hat.
Well, the hat's
The hat's supposed to be a little disarming, but I do have conservative physiognomy for sure.
It's
Yeah.
healthy.
It's helped.
I hate the hat.
I
Yeah?
love the hat.
It's so cute. I want to like spin
You don't
a little.
like the hat?
No,
Who
I
Who
spin
the fuck
it.
asked you, Kyla?
What?
Oh, free speech.
No, I'd like to have a civilized debate about why you don't like the hat.
Because if his audience goal is to like pull over like moderate men to the left, they're gonna not like that.
They're not gonna take it seriously.
It's like
So it helps a lot in interviews. I'll go up to like people that are like Trump supporters and they'll be like, who's this goofy guy?
They mean breaks ice. That doesn't mean that they like you.
Yes. No,
They do like me though. They do like me until I say that I'm a Democrat.
yeah. They're disarmed.
because you're
They're disarmed by you. They don't see you
Yes.
as a threat.
Yes.
To their
Yes.
intelligence or their.
But the thing is, like, I'm not the image that I would need to be to pull people over, and I'm not going to fake it just to win over an audience I don't think I deserve. So
just say you're targeting a different audience, which
I
is
am.
also fine.
That is what I'm doing. I mean, I wish I was douchey enough to look and act like Andrew Tate, but not to speak like Andrew Tate.
I really dislike that.
That'd be
man. I'm
impressive.
sorry.
You don't like sex traffickers? That's crazy.
No, what?
Alleged sex traffickers.
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself,
I
right?
actually do think he killed himself.
I definitely do not think you do.
No,
I think he probably killed himself.
No, he don't.
I just think, it was one of those, hey, Jeffrey, look, you do this for us, we don't go after your friends sort of thing, Like,
Did the Epstein files ever get released? What happened
course
with
not.
that?
We have
course not.
receipts and we have a lot of evidence.
The same shit that they released like an edited video that they said wasn't edited, but it's like if you look in like the coding, there's like Adobe Premiere, like you can see that they
You can see where they cut it out.
yeah, they removed like 3 minutes of the video.
And
but also,
yeah.
like it's a video of his cell, but actually what it is it's a corner of a staircase,
that led to his cell, maybe.
but it completely blocks out anyone who could actually like walk up.
Oh, nice.
Well, I'm sorry, what is this?
This is a graph
No,
talking about
so-
right-wing
okay.
violence, and it's...
So the
it's-
ADL released a graph that showed that political violence is down by 93% conservatives. However, there's a lot of methodological errors with the ADL graph. The issue is that the Reuters graph,
Reuters?
is kind of the same. Like they remove all of the methodological errors that people have with ADL, and it fundamentally stays the same. Let's all just back up. It'll be easier for everyone to see.
Do you watch me? Yeah, okay.
no.
All right. Are we really going to talk to this person? I mean, no, it's...
Yeah, she has cool pink hair.
Yeah.
I don't watch any like political YouTubers. I don't know why.
You're better off for it, I would say. Yeah.
Wow, some might say worse off for it.
Some would be a minority, because most people would say that
Because
political
every time
YouTube...
I ever see someone, everything online is like half like, oh, this person's like really cool and like really good at this, and then half of it is like,
They're
don't
evil.
watch them, they're evil and they hate, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Hassan, everyone's like, half people I ever talked to are like, oh, you should watch him, like he's really cool, and then half of them are like, no, he's problematic for this, this, and this. So I'm just like, I don't know.
What do you think about like everything that's going on here? Obviously, there's a whole bunch of comments like mourning a bigot is wrong.
Yeah.
With Galatians 4:16 there.
Yeah, I was when I got here, it was like I think right around noon, and it was like the height of it was a bunch of people in the plaza. It was when it was like super busy earlier.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, it's calmed down a lot. I think when I walked up, the immediate vibe I got was that everyone was like waiting for something. Like walking
Probably for
up,
us because we were setting up since
Yeah.
like 11:30.
because there were a bunch of people, and it seemed like everyone was just kind of drifting around, like reading stuff. A bunch of people were sitting on all of the sidelines.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was the immediate vibe I got. Is it felt like everyone was like waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. You can hold this.
Oh, thank you. Hello. I have a little microphone.
Do you feel like nervous coming to school campus with like all the shootings and like the violence and just like the escalation of tensions? Obviously, like campuses are a really good place for content creators to come to because you guys will talk to us.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, a lot of the public just won't talk to content creators anymore, it seems. But also, obviously, it brings like a lot of like tension. There's lots of protests here. There's some people that do seem to be celebrating Kirk's death here, and then there's people here obviously establishing a vigil,
Yeah.
which is
I think that's TPUSA.
that is TPUSA.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't personally feel afraid coming to campus. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of one of those things where like it feels like, I don't know. It's like the kind of thing where it's like you don't really feel like something bad is gonna happen. Like I don't know. I'm not like afraid coming to campus. I never really have been. I think today I was more so I wanted to be here to make sure like more of my friends were safe because I knew a lot of them were going to be out on campus. I usually don't talk to content creators. I wasn't going to talk to anybody that was like the rage bait crowd. Like I didn't want to talk to any of them, but you guys seemed like chill, so I was like, yeah.
It's everyone's like we're a pretty big tent event and like,
Yeah.
group. Like there is definitely rage baiting that happens here, and there's
Yeah.
definitely people who are less inclined towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't like the rage baiting. Do you feel like so one of the things that was weird to me is after Kirk died, like my mom texted me and I was like, how do you even like know who this person is?
Yeah.
Have you also, because you're not super political, it sounds like. You're
I am. I'm the vice chair of YDSA.
okay. What is
Yeah.
that?
It's the Young Democratic Socialists of America.
Gotcha. Okay. Wait.
So-
Are you the guys that wouldn't work with us, or is that a different group?
No, that's Young Dems.
Okay, so you're part of socialism. So you're actually quite political.
Yeah, I'm pretty political. I just don't watch a lot of stuff online.
Gotcha. What
But-
do you politically engage with?
Like you mean on campus, or what do you mean?
Just for yourself, like how do you learn about it? How do you participate? How do you think about politics? Do you have social groups that are politically oriented?
Yeah, I guess my social groups have always kind of been. I grew up in Texas and like the suburbs, so there wasn't a lot of like left-wing political groups there that I knew of. But I was like a theater kid, so like everyone there was like, like it was a lot of like queer people and like the weird, like that kind of crowd.
Yeah.
And so I guess then when I came to college, one of the main things I wanted to do was I really wanted to find like a left-wing political group. And then my good friend Maya posted that like they started going to YDSA, so then I started going. And I just really like the group. It is Young Democratic Socialists. So a lot of people like hear the word socialist and
Are they going to be like Bernie
scares
Bro
them?
camp? Like when you say democratic socialist, obviously a lot of people don't know what that means.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like Zoran Mondani. He's a democratic socialist.
Okay.
So it's like that whole kind of thing.
Like would your long-term goal be like no private property? Like if we voted for that?
It's
Or
hard
is
to
it more
say.
like minimum wage raising?
Yeah, it's a lot of that kind of thing where it's like minimum wage raising, like heavy emphasis on obviously like civil rights. Again, pretty much if you read all of like Zoran Mondami's like campaign goals, it's a lot of stuff like that, like rent freezes. We're actually trying right now to get I forget her last name, but her first name is Zoelle. She's running for city council for District 5, which is the district that CSU is on. So
Gotcha.
we're trying to do campaigns about helping her get on city council because she would be the only renter. Everyone who's on city council in Fort Collins is like a property owner.
Yeah.
So she would be the only renter on campus. And we actually found out that her opponent is not her landlord, but a landlord in the building that she lives in.
Gotcha.
So yeah, she's coming today or on tomorrow to actually talk to us. She's coming to our meeting tomorrow.
Okay. So then when you think about like major political crises, what are the things that you care about? Like what are you worried about for the next 10, 15 years? Like what are the things that you think matter most? You would be voting on it. If you saw a candidate have these 6 points, that you'd be like, that's my perfect candidate.
A big thing for me is obviously like environmental stuff. I'm a wildlife and conservation biology student. It's a big thing for me because like I feel like obviously I want to fix like social issues, but if the earth is gonna like become literally uninhabitable, like what's the point in fixing social issues if then we all die because we can't grow any food?
If I could ask you a question about that, I'm
Yeah.
curious. One of the biggest, I'm going to devil's advocate. One of the biggest pushbacks to a lot of environmentalism, there's two prongs of it that I think are coherent.
Yeah.
One of the prongs would say, It would be like the Ezra Klein prong, the abundance prong. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ezra.
Is that like there's too many people? What is that?
No, so Ezra Klein would basically say that he's not opposed to environmentalism. He's for environmental stuff. The problem is that a lot of environmental policies got passed in like the 70s and 80s, mostly through courts. And now courts and environmental groups get major veto on projects that are green. So California has been trying to build a high-speed rail for 30 years. They can't because of multiple groups' veto powers, but one of the major groups is environmental groups. But a high-speed rail would actually resolve a whole bunch of traffic issues, car issues. Obviously, public transport is just a net good typically for the environment if you have all.
So is the abundance issue the idea that there's too much regulation and it makes it hard to?
More like that regulations are outdated and there's no process to update them. So like the 70s policy is based on 70s environmental science, which, as I'm sure you know, has been updated and it's been 50 years. So it's not what we necessarily believe in. Solar panels are way more efficient now than they were in the 70s, for example. And so I guess that is one prong of pushback on environmentalism, which isn't really a pushback. It's more of like an
idea of like things
direction.
needed.
Yeah. But essentially the process by which Ezra wants to do it is removing environmental groups' veto rights for now, and then rebuilding them in a way that is more integrated so that they don't block the projects that people need.
I think it's interesting.
Sorry, that was a very large.
No, I get it.
Your thoughts on it?
I think my thing is it's so difficult because obviously, like in the 70s and 80s, everybody was very willing to work on environmental issues. Like we had like the banning of CFCs, which was like there was a hole in the ozone layer because of CFCs, which are like they're in hairspray. I forget what it stands for, but it's like it's the stuff that's in hairspray, or it used to be.
Yeah.
It caused
like destroying the ozone.
And it caused a hole in the ozone. And so then everybody got together and like there was like a not worldwide, but like a bunch of countries came together and banned CFCs and they fixed the hole in the ozone layer. And so it was this huge big thing. And I feel like people used to be so willing to do that. And so nowadays it's so hard to get new environmental legislation. So that's why I'm kind of iffy on the idea of removing legislation and then rebuilding it, only because it would be so hard to rebuild it because no one wants to do it now.
Yeah.
And also I think one of my big issues is even just like capitalism as like a factor in environmental issues, because like, so my dad, he works for Exxon. And they were going to do this big project where they were going to build a lithium plant in Arkansas for like electric cars and stuff like that. And it was going to be like the greenest lithium plant that currently would have existed. Like it was going to be, I don't exactly remember how lithium plants work, but I know that they're super environmentally destructive. Like lithium, that's why there's
like
so much
the stuff they release into the air.
That's why there's so much weird stuff with and like electric cars, because like they seem good for the environment, but mining the lithium for the batteries is so destructive that it's kind of like
semiconductor process as well is just super data draining and it takes a lot of power to
and so it was going to be the greenest lithium plant on the planet, but then it got canceled because like they didn't think that they were going to make enough money off of it.
Right.
Like they were like, no, we don't think that the market is big enough. And they were saying they wanted to charge a premium for it being like greener lithium. Like they were going to charge more because it was more environmentally responsible.
Right.
But they were like, we don't think people will want to pay more.
Yeah.
So they just canceled the project.
Gotcha.
And so that was the kind of thing where I was like, they almost were like trying to kind of find a solution. And then they were just like, oh, it doesn't make money.
Yeah.
And so they just canceled the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
Super fair.
sorry.
Do you want to trade off just while I dot my...
Just completely jump into this conversation like I know what's going on.
Yeah. We're talking about environmentalism, I guess. So the other question I suppose that I can like offer as like one of the major pushbacks that I see to environmentalism would be one of the issues of efficacy, right? This is going to be a much more capitalist argument where essentially they go, look, there is just a global GDP national arms race. We don't want to lose to China and Russia. It would be bad. They're horrible. The capitalists will say, you want to talk about what's bad for the environment? Russia and China are bad for the environment.
China's also greening their economy.
I agree. Hold on. There are
faster.
caveats to that. I'm giving the devil's advocate first. There are arguments that you can make opposed to it. And we can't we can't trade off accelerated economic growth in exchange for these like nice things if these countries aren't going to honor the same principles, and then they dumpster us in GDP. And now we're in a world situation where like Putin might have more political hegemonic power than America does. That would be like another capitalist perspective. Do you have any thoughts on that other than like the China one?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it makes sense. I don't really know what my like argument against it would be, because like I do see that as like a valid argument, like the idea of like, oh, we can try to be green, but then if they beat us and it like burns out our factories, like what's the point? I do see that side of it. I don't really.
You don't have to offer perspective.
Yeah,
I'm just curious your
The
thoughts on
different,
it.
my thought is,
Sure.
because I don't want that to be the last word, is that obviously we can go green without sabotaging our economy. And if you
Yeah.
look at the way China has handled solar panels in the last 20 years, it has absolutely been not only like, hey, we've green revolutionized our country and a huge chunk of it is this, but also we have a huge GDP explosion.
Sure.
You do not have to shoot yourself in the foot to revolutionize green energy.
But
and
the
there's
solar
a
panel
lot
development
of
was
money.
super costly to their environment and the build up. Like in the first 10 years while they were doing this, as you said, there was a lot of lithium, a lot of semiconductor.
Sure.
There was a lot of mining and scraping Taiwan.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, they did get there and make the solar panels. And that's true and something to aspire for. But there's a huge environmental cost the whole way.
This is the Ezra Klein argument, right? It's like, look, there are certain regulations we have to subvert to get better clean energy in the long run. So fuck this zoning law so I can build more housing, and someone needs to invest in ways to make concrete in ways that doesn't release all these crazy chemicals into the atmosphere. But we're going to have to burn a bunch of fuel to get there.
Yeah.
You gotta spend money to make money. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I guess that's another thing is I'm kind of like, I don't know what the word for it is. Like again, like I was talking about earlier, how I feel like the 70s and 80s, like I was talking about my example, like a bunch of countries came together and were like, okay, we have to solve this issue. We have to solve the ozone layer. And then they worked together and they did. And so I think that's my main thing is like, obviously it's like, the ideal like peace and love scenario. But I do just wish that like again, people would realize like there's no point in growing your economy if in 50 years the entire climate changes and we're all like screwed over anyway because no one can grow food and no one can like survive. Like
Yeah,
I don't
people
know.
are treating it like an existential threat. They're
That's
treating
what I
it
mean,
like
nobody treats-
recycling's just slightly better and not.
yeah, nobody
hey.
treats climate change as like a genuine existential like threat to humans' existence, and it frustrates me so much.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, literally like everything that sustains us is like fundamentally changing. Like, can we not like get over ourselves and like work together? It just frustrates me so much. I don't know.
It's funny you brought up the 70s and 80s thing because
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter and like all that, those coalitions of people trying to solve all these issues.
Yeah.
And Ronald Reagan comes in, he strips all the solar
Yes.
panels off of the White House. He gets rid of a bunch of the
Oh my
regulations.
God,
So,
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, I think we were on the right track. We could have had electric cars in the 70s.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we were so close to so many. People hate on Jimmy Carter because he was kind of a nothing burger of a president, but like, he was
He's my favorite.
he was a very nice man. My grandpa met Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he had to give him a tour of a river in I think Chad.
We're talking about how much we hate Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I'm almost not feeling. I don't know enough about Reagan.
Pretty much if you look at any graph,
I'm not. You're biased.
just look at any graph,
I'm sure.
and when it starts getting bad is when Reagan was president.
If there's any problem with
Yeah,
American
the 70s
society,
The 70s just got bad for everything because a whole bunch of boomer policies just didn't update with technology in any single fucking way. And
Yeah.
there were the things I know about Reagan, let's be honest, I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah.
However, you can't blame the 70s on Reagan.
No, I can blame Reagan on Reagan.
yeah. The Jimmy Carter to Reagan switch is like the most tragic moment of American politics.
Yeah.
He's like,
It was like
the
this.
Al Gore
It was like
of their
this
time.
like cool little fun progressive guy who like didn't do much but was like kind of trying to make a difference, and then it was like Reagan, and it just
high treason's a
nuked
big
everything.
You know,
Would you say Reagan was high treason?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Iran Contra.
Wasn't he
Yeah.
super important in the dismantling of the USSR though? Or was that?
Depends on how you look at it. No, that was right. It was on
It was Thatcher and Reagan, right?
to an extent.
He worked with Gorbachev like pretty close. I would say Thatcher was more important to that, but
Margaret Thatcher.
Well, Margaret Thatcher is the female Ronald Reagan,
Yeah, I agree with that.
so it's
I don't think that's fair.
that's literally what they called her.
I don't care what people call anyone.
I also
like
hate
this
Margaret
policy
Thatcher.
for
I'd
very
like to say.
So if you're like attributing it to Thatcher, it's just an extension of Reagan, and England is America.
Yeah, I would say I politically disagreed with Thatcher by and large. But her like willingness to like work with Gorbachev when they had been like Cold War enemies for so long was like pretty like monumental. Like it just does huge pluses in my books for her because every other global leader was just not ever willing to like work with the USSR to like free the people of the USSR, and she finally was. And like in fairness, in part it was because Gorbachev was also willing to moderate. But like I just think you get points for that. Like
Yeah, I just hate her because of what she like. I don't know a ton of it because I have a book on it, but I haven't read it yet. But I know that she kind of screwed over Ireland a
soy pill
lot.
video on Margaret Thatcher. It explains a lot of this, why England hates her so much. Did a lot of research on this. Ireland, they hate her for the troubles
Yeah,
and busting.
that's
The
why.
milk
Yeah,
snatching. She got rid of milks in schools' lunches because those shitty little kids should fend for themselves. But she
Yeah.
did some good stuff. She was like semi-good on gay rights, USSR, praising dictators was one of the bad things, just to be clear. So, up and down.
I have no idea what that sign means.
Says, "I will be your Charlie Kirk."
Yeah,
He's
I wouldn't be saying that now. Do you want to go talk to Charlie Kirk?
Sure.
yeah. Go talk to autistic Charlie Kirk. That's what it says. It says Autistic Freedom Network. If you're on the spectrum, I'll be your Charlie Kirk. Whatever. I don't know what that means.
I
was
no longer
chat
know if
thing.
he's conservative.
Ireland hated the royals.
Thank you so much.
Waffle House young people.
That's the white shirt girl for ad. Is that me?
What, are you hot micing?
Did you just call me hot shirt? You're on my fucking stream, idiot. I'm not giving you my at. You're
What's
at my at.
Hey, what's this girl's at?
Okay, dumbass. When you make the type of person who's like the top performing in an area, you'll just ask what their other interests and they'll be like, yeah, I'm the top performing person in 17 other domains. But also, if you're kind of a weird antisocial freak, you'll suddenly discover that you have all collections of antisocial things.
Yeah, and it's also just like a lot of stuff happens. Like the thing with Hunter, where it's like he was in this like Charlie Kirk situation, and then he goes and he talks to Andrew Callahan. And he's like, my brother was part of a school shooting, and I know someone who was next to the school shooting. It's like, oh yeah, like, and that's not a coincidence. That is this man is part of the unfortunate zeitgeist of shootings happen a lot.
Yeah.
But also, if you followed those stupid bullshit stats that the guy used like Grok for, that's still 1 in 4 people, or yeah, not 1 in 4 people, 4 people on the planet have done that then, if it's 1 in 2 billion.
Yeah,
so like,
exactly.
that means there's 3 other people that were at 9/11 Boston bombing and
Yeah,
the Charlie Kirk shooting. Like,
The problem is that like people always do this ecological fallacy where they're like, well, you are not part of the norm, so that can't be true. And it's like a lot of times people who fall outside of the norm on a multitude of things. Super curious. We're not really understanding what Autistic Freedom Network means. Like, are
That's the
you
name of the organization I'm here with?
okay?
I'm the only person running it. I founded it like just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's pretty sensitive. As long
So, yeah. So I wrote up this message. If you're on the spectrum, I'll be your Charlie Kirk. I mean, here's what happened. The world already made a Charlie Kirk out of me. They didn't have to kill him. They made a Charlie Kirk out of me a year ago, because I'm living in a world like. I went through a whole lot of garbage as a kid because of all these policies regarding kids on the autism spectrum. And these kids need a voice. No one is speaking out for them. Nobody is bringing them any truth or love. So it's time to say, hey, that's got to change.
what are some like principles or policies that you would like to see? Like if there was a candidate that you would say that is my perfect candidate, like what are the policies that they would have?
Well, let kids grow up. That's really all I have to say.
What do you mean by that though?
yeah, like which policies would you say were instrumental in,
So-
in damaging you as a child?
Basically, well, you got to remove medicalization. You got to get rid of the early intervention. The only way I would recommend early intervention is if it actually helps a kid with something they're deficient in. But that's not what's happening right now. And also, we got to completely scrap the special education process. We got to scrap the ABA, obviously. We got to scrap a lot of the therapy unless you absolutely need it.
What would you qualify as somebody who absolutely needs it? Like how do you determine when somebody needs intervention?
Well, it certainly depends on what they're sort of struggling with in terms of what's been happening to them. Like if they're struggling with relationships, they should definitely have help for that. But that should be up to the parents, not a hospital, not a school, and not a government.
Gotcha. So when you say that you'll be the Charlie Kirk for like those on the spectrum, you're not meaning this in like a political left-right thing. You mostly mean this for like your group that needs a voice.
Pretty much, yeah. They all deserve to have a voice rooted in truth. They deserve to know the truth and to have somebody that'll fight for them on their behalf.
Okay, gotcha. Anything else we should be asking you that we're not?
Not really. I mean, I've kind of just sat here all day and was told that I couldn't table because you need reservations for that. Freaking bureaucracy. So, I mean, I guess I live 2 hours away, so it's like, I mean, I might as well just not come up here unless there's a once-in-a-year opportunity like seeing Chloe Cole, which I did do here 6 months ago.
Who's Chloe Cole?
She is the most well-known example of a detransitioner. She had her breasts removed at 15, was put on blockers and testosterone at 13 and 14, and then she detransitioned at 16 years old, and she's been all over the country. Like, her voice is pretty loud in a lot of ways. So I'm trying to sort of get to that level, not just for the sake of being at that level, but for the sake of fighting for the kids that have been forced to move schools and had their socialization reset every 2 years.
Gotcha. A lot of proponents of the ABA system would kind of outline like some of the major like IQ and like social functioning benefits that it would have. Specifically, like children that are early intervened on, maybe raise like somewhere from like 40 to 60 points. But also, converse to that, obviously, the autism group points to that and says there's a lot of really abusive things there, and there's behaviors that they're trying to change that don't need to change. Could you tell me more of your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's always dictated by the pharmaceutical industry. It's not, parents are given like this ultimatum where if they do not put their child through a lot of these programs that I've been describing, that their kid is going to fail and be dysfunctional for their whole life. So it's almost like the suicide hoax with the trans stuff.
What do you mean by that?
You know, when you go into a trans facility, the parents are asked, would you rather have a dead son or living daughter or whichever version of that?
I don't know if they're asked that. I think that there are like activists who use that line. I would be very dubious if doctors are saying that.
They're doing that. It's actually required by law in the state of Colorado to
Tell people that their kids could commit suicide if they don't transition?
Pretty much, yeah. And half the kids going through this process on the spectrum, and I think they deserve to have intact brains and intact bodies and to be able to live the human way of life.
Do you mind if I look that up? I'm dubious of that.
I'm not a detransitioner, but I've grown to know some detransitions quite well, like the aforementioned Chloe, there's a number of others that I've grown to know on social media. And they were always asked that question by the professionals.
I think maybe the way you frame it, though, people might be worried that you're saying these are the two only options, like either they'll die or you let them do this. And I think doctors might be required to say, hey, there are a lot of mental health concerns with this.
There's a lot of, well, it's an ideology. It's not really evidence-based like they would suggest. That's they're required by law to always affirm. And if they ever ask questions about the mental health of the child, then it's like, oh, it's conversion therapy and it's therefore illegal, and they lose their license. And we have a lot of evidence to back that up. There's a ton of bills that were passed, including this past one, 1312, which means you can't, quote unquote, misgender or quote unquote dead name people without really getting slapped with an enormous fine.
Yeah, there's like an anti-discrimination bill that was passed, is my understanding. And I understand that a lot of times in like help fields, when there's anti-discrimination laws, it translates behaviorally downstream to like affirmation policy. I guess the issue is that like the law is not requiring doctors to say your kids will die by suicide if you don't treat them. But the law is saying you cannot tell children that they're not allowed to transition.
Right, and there's the bill passed in 2019. I can't remember the exact name, but I've grown to know somebody who does actually love up her. Her name's Erin Lee, and her child was almost put through the process, but Erin was able to sort of step up and get her child back, whose name is also Chloe. Go figure. Yeah, so she was almost put on. They call it the classroom to clinic pipeline. It's basically where you groom kids into believing they're trans. And
how's that grooming? Because grooming is about like teaching kids to hide sexual favors inappropriately so that like an adult can keep abusing them. But in this case, transitioning kids isn't like sexual favors for doctors, right? Like the doctors are not sexually getting off. There's no sexual components here other than the sexuality itself, like the genitals.
Well, there kind of is in a way, because they're told like what the procedures are and which different sex stuff there is. I haven't gone through that myself, thank goodness, but like Erin Lee would know more than me about this stuff. But they are told like if you are in any way uncomfortable with your body, then you're trans, and if you don't know who you're attracted to, that automatically means you're queer. So it's like that doesn't make any sense. We're talking about kids that have never heard of this stuff before, and that are being told that if they're having even the slightest amount of discomfort in their body, that means they're trans.
Can I ask? Yeah, like what would you say? Like I am from California. I know a lot of trans people, and a lot of them tell me before trans was a big political hot topic, they knew something was wrong. They always felt it was off. And no one really taught them anything about being trans. All they did was kind of put a name to the way that they were feeling the whole time. Do you think those people like are separate group from what you're describing, or would you say most of them are like that?
They found it online. Online's another place where they learn about this stuff. That's actually where I learned it. I'm not a detransitioner, but I did go through a phase where I grew out my hair. So I missed it, but barely.
So you would say anyone who claims that they had some sort of dysphoria at a young age was probably...
If they struggled as a kid, likely from autism or some other form of neurodivergence. Maybe they were abused or a foster parent, or maybe they're gay. Like, they don't know what's wrong with them. They think there's something wrong with them, and then they just slap this trans label on themselves. It's like, it's kind of insane.
Do you think that there's any legitimate claims to being trans? Like, are there some people who are legitimately trans and transitioning is like the best possible outcome for them?
I mean, that the amount of people like that is so close to zero that to me it might as well be zero.
Well, the whole population, even the people that you probably think aren't trans, still accounts for like, I think less than like, what, 5%, maybe even less than 1%. So like, it's a very small amount, no matter what group that we're talking about, but that doesn't delegitimize. I have Sjogren's disease, which is a very rare type of autoimmune. That doesn't make me not have Sjogren's disease or the medical interventions associated with it, even though it's super rare. So I'm asking, even if you think it's rare, is it legitimate? Are there legitimate claims?
In most cases, no. Just because the main reason is because they're going to regret it at some point. Like, if you can prove that you actually, this happens quite a lot actually, where people will fake having a disease of some sort. But
I think it's less common than actually having the diseases though, right? Almost always. There are hypochondriacs and whatnot, but typically I think the actual disease is more grounded than the faking.
Do you think a hypochondriac has ever claimed to have trans?
I mean, I haven't really heard of that, but like, a lot of these kids are on the autism spectrum that say they're trans, even though they're really not. Like, they're gonna regret it at some point. Sometimes.
Could you be autistic and trans?
Like maybe 0.01% of the time.
Yep, but that means yes, right?
Well, yeah, but it's so close to zero that to me it might as well be zero.
I think in context of the policies and the way people are talking about it, he's like, it's the way that people are pushing it would imply that it's much bigger than it is, not that it's not ever happening. Just to steel man what you're saying.
Yeah, well, here's what I'm going to say. Like, the amount of trans identification in the young generation, like at this university, for example, they're about, I guess they're 18 through 22 years old. So I'm currently 21. I'd say maybe about 4 or 5% of them think they're trans, which is 40 to 50 times more than it should be. Based on the historical observation of like a rate of 0.01% or less.
Right. So I guess
1%.
the obvious counter argument to that is left-handedness didn't really exist at all because we punished people and said that they were filled with demons if they had left-handedness. But obviously that plateaued.
Not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like, we always knew left-handedness existed, but
we punished it and taught people not to be left-handed. So typically, to be honest, left-handedness can be somewhat trained out of people.
Well, here's what I'll say. Like, left-handedness is something innate. But the thing about trans, in many cases, it's always influenced by some outside force. It's not usually innate.
I think a lot of like early adopter transsexuals, for example, like in the 70s and 80s, for example, would very, very vividly say, I could tell you about at 3, like something was off.
All right. Well, we're talking about, I mean, if it's 3-year-olds, maybe. But if we're talking about 12, 13, 14-year-olds just out of nowhere declaring it with no previous sign of trans identification whatsoever, then something's wrong.
So a 3-year-old is more legitimate than a 12-year-old.
Yeah, wouldn't
In a lot of ways.
Like, I would say, I think during puberty, you would see a lot more gender dysphoria manifest because as their body develops secondary sex characteristics, that's when the dysphoria would get more heightened. So, you got more androgynous kids below 12, they might not feel it as much, maybe in the social interactions, what girls do, what boys do. But as soon as like, oh, I'm getting breasts and these don't feel right on me,
Well, here's what I have to say to that. Everyone is uncomfortable during puberty. I was uncomfortable during puberty. You were most likely uncomfortable during puberty.
No, I actually felt great.
Everyone rocking around here was most likely had some kind of discomfort during puberty.
Right.
I remember having.
But I guess you would have to ask like a trans person's like experience, what kind of uncomfortable? Yeah, acne's uncomfortable, back pain from growth spurts. But I think these people are like, I look at my body and I feel immense pain and discomfort and dysphoria, which I think is very different.
Do you think depression's real?
Of course.
But people are sad all the time.
I went through depression at 14 because I was forced to move schools.
But everyone's sad.
But everyone, what do you mean everyone's sad?
Well, you're saying like everyone's uncomfortable in puberty. And I'm saying, well, everyone's sad sometimes. That doesn't mean depression's real.
Well, I'm not saying that every kid who goes through puberty is depressed, but they might experience some amount of discomfort, even if they're doing decently well.
Sure, but I guess I'm outlining an analogy, right? Like if we can agree that everyone can be sad sometimes, but also medical depression is real and it's distinct from just being sad sometimes, it's possible that everyone's uncomfortable in puberty and that trans people are experiencing a distinctive experience that would be separate from just everyone feels uncomfortable in their body, in the same way that depression to sadness.
Well, again, like this discomfort is driven by a lot of the hormonal changes in the body, but
everyone goes through that, right?
Yeah, everyone goes through it. But here's the thing with the trans identification. Like when you say like you don't even know it exists. And these kids most likely will go on to be either gay or on the spectrum, or will just go on to be a normal person for their lives. And if you make them trans during their puberty, 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to regret it.
I think the actual regret rate is exceptionally low.
That's actually not true. I have found sources that are much newer. The outdated sources of 1% are just because of how much has been pushed. We're looking at a regret rate of about 35% now, and I think in 10 years it'll be about like above 90 because of considering how many people think they're trans now. They're all going to detransition by this time in the next decade. So we're going to have 10 times more detransitioners than people who claim to be trans.
I think it is definitely possible. I think like the nuance that I would strike between us is it is definitely possible that some people are identifying as being trans when they might actually have some other phenomenon that they're experiencing that's getting misidentified. I don't think it's going to be 90%, right? I think that typically what we see is when like a new phenomenon pops off and gets normalized, more people might fall into it than otherwise. We see this in psychology all the time. When dissociative identity disorder was first named, discovered, talked about, we shot through the roof of people who were diagnosed with DID, even though it still remained actually below 5%. And then over time, we kind of balanced out of going, oh, actually, these individuals are not, and these individuals are. And that's actually part of the scientific kind of clinical medical process of figuring out what is the struggle that this person's having and what is the best way to treat it. So 90%, I'm just like, it probably just won't be that high.
I mean, you might think that considering how low the regret rate historically has been because no one was going through the process. But when you put millions of people through the process that are most likely going to regret it, you're going to have a much higher regret rate.
Right.
What would you then advocate for? Like more gates or more doctor checks, more like psychological evaluations before anyone would do anything, or just get rid of it totally?
I mean, in a lot of ways, I think it should just be gone completely because we're talking about kids being harmed here.
What about the people that need it, though? We said, like, there are some legitimate cases. There are some rare people with Sjogren's disease. Should I not have access to the medication that helps my disease just because I'm super rare? Even if other people might lie and say that they have Sjogren's disease when they're wrong, should I not have access to it?
Well, Sjogren's disease is not trans. That's all I have to say.
Well, maybe a better analogy would be fentanyl is one of the most abused things ever, right? Some people need fentanyl as a
That's
painkiller.
smuggled in. Most 99.
I'm talking about like people abusing opioid prescriptions, right? Like I would say probably most opioids might be actually abuse at this point, whereas some people are actually using it to treat horrible things. I wouldn't say we should get rid of opioid painkillers because it would stop all these people from abusing it, because some people do need it to treat their horrible injuries, right? So I guess that's the analogy to the trans argument.
There should be proof that you actually have this. Like if you have Sjogren's disease, I mean, I didn't even know what the heck that is. I've never heard.
So she likes dressing up like a samurai.
Sure. I mean, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But I don't think we should be giving kids something that's going to permanently alter their bodies, especially if they're going to regret it sometime within the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you for talking to us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad we can actually have peaceful debate.
Thank you. What was your name?
I'm Sven.
Sven.
I'm
Nice to
here
meet you,
speak
Sven.
for the autism spectrum.
Thank you, Sven.
It's time we give folks on the spectrum alternative and proper treatments, and it should really be up to parents, not the pharmaceutical industry and not the schools. So
Okay.
parents, and if they can prove that their child is deficient in something, they should have to be there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
I'm going to prove, if I have a trans kid, I'm going to prove they're deficient in breasts so they can get breast implants.
Hi.
Sorry, I remember on live stream.
You're good.
Very nice to meet you guys. Thank you for coming to camp. Oh, thank you.
I'll go back and forth.
sorry
I can
about
hold it.
that.
That's
Yeah.
okay. No
Thanks
worries.
for coming to campus. I myself am like a community organizer and stuff.
Oh, cool. What do you organize?
Mostly just like labor, political education, stuff like that.
Oh.
Which club are you part of?
I can't say that, just live stream and stuff.
Oh, sure,
It's
okay.
a positive one. But like
Unionizing.
You'll be the judge of that.
I wonder what it could be. I'm just curious. So like, I know you guys are part of the tour and everything.
Yeah.
So like, what's the goal of your guys' tour? Like, I'm aware of like Unfuck America.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Like, what are your guys' personal goals with joining Unfuck America?
My personal goal is mostly like we really need an effective, like pretty large tent left media apparatus that like gets content out quickly, regularly with high virality, because right now we're just losing the game. Like on a media organizational level, we're just completely losing the game. We can't coordinate. We don't work together. Our pundits won't even be in rooms together. And then you like look at TPUSA and they'll have like Benny Johnson, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro. And like a lot of these people infight, but they'll come together for these types of events. So I'm kind of willing to get behind any like left-leaning political group that's trying to like talk to young people, have conversations with the opposing side, and counter the effects that MAGA has had on the voting
We
populace.
need more unprincipled left-wing pundits who are willing to acknowledge that they're all grifters and come together for a single goal.
Right. Would you say that, although, like, once again, I'm a left-leaning person, as I'm sure you guys picked up, but would you say that, like, having this sort of, like, big tent organization is just sort of like the left-wing version of, like, sowing, I would have to say, not good discourse in a way?
It depends on what you mean by that.
So, yeah, like...
And we'll have different opinions. Just
No, of course. So, I mean, like, in very much the similar vein that Charlie Kirk was debating, like, sociology students in between their, like, second and third block classes. What exactly is the goal of, like, coming out to people who are staunch in their beliefs and are really just sort of, like, trying to get on, like, not to be a hypocrite right now, but just trying to, I guess, just sow more discourse, not exactly advancing conversation. And I'm so sorry to keep on rambling.
No. I know exactly. You have the same opinion I do, which is like, I don't want to come out here and debate college students. I think this is poison. I don't like the viral, like, look, I destroyed this fucking conservative. The problem is the right wing's already doing it. So I came here to talk to the right wing pundits, if they're here, or at least like kind of spread the message that we're not okay with political violence. And also the ground game of getting people on these campuses to register to vote, I think is very important in winning these hearts and minds. If you asked me if I wanted to have a line of college sociology majors come and debate me, I think that's disgusting and poison and stupid.
Sociology.
Yeah,
I just
not a
agree with you
fan.
guys so vehemently. I essentially think that we're in a Mollux game. Do you know what a Mollux game is?
No, man.
Okay, so a Mollux game is basically a game where everyone basically gets fucked and has to do bad things to participate. And if you refuse to participate, you can't even play the game. Do you know what a Casey committee is, or like a super PAC?
Oh, yes.
She's kind of owning you right now, by the way. You don't know
No,
so
shut
many
up.
things.
Just every time he starts trolling, push him away. Okay, he's being so mean. All day he's trolling people. So, super PACs. I'm not a fan of them. Are you a fan of them?
No, I'm not a fan of that. I think the Citizens United decision was a very poor decision on the Supreme Court's part.
Totally agree. But however, Ro Khanna is a good example of a politician who is very anti-Casey committees. However, he understands that you can't even begin to federally compete without a Casey committee because you can't get enough funding. Because like a federal event for Ro Khanna, he's probably got to raise about 2.5 million to even begin to compete with the advertising. Just the simple boots on ground, talking to people so they know your name and see your face, right?
Oh, of course.
And so there's this Mollux game where if Ro Khanna wants to get money out of politics, he has to participate in the exact thing that he wants to get rid of. So that's a Mollux game. And in the case of social media, I think we're in a Mollux game type of situation where I agree that like the low hanging fruit content tends to do the best. It's divisive and it's harmful. And so the question is, can you participate in that game and try to do it as ethically as possible? And I think that that's essentially the question. There's this really, do you know who Marcus Aurelius is?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how you feel about him. He's like my favorite Stoic writer, at least. He has this idea. He laments in most of his musings. So I don't know if you know much about his like history of his writings or anything, but he didn't want his writings to get out. And most of his writings is like whining about being the emperor because he'd rather just be like off in a field, like thinking and like helping people and like doing stuff. And he's like, oh, the emperor, I'm just surrounded by like
Sort of like
sycophants.
if I can just like, sort of like the idea of Cincinnatus, once you get called by Rome, you have to go serve.
Essentially. And so he goes like, oh, I fucking hate this. I'm surrounded by sycophants who like are empty and vacuous and shitty people and they have no virtue. And then he goes, but if it's not me who's striving for virtue, then it's going to be some other piece of shit doing it who's probably worse.
Yeah, no, I can see what you mean by that. I definitely don't like the whole low-hanging fruit situation that American culture and politics has been set in.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think that there's different ways to engage. Like, for instance, Warren Zindani, right? He's a DSA candidate. He's running for the Democratic mayor. He's meeting people where they are. I guess where I disagree with your guys' message is that you see him, of course, still disagreeing with like the right-wing populist with his own left-wing populist message, but he's advancing the conversation by meeting people where they are. I think, at least in the context I understand your guys' organization, I'm not fully in the loop. It's still very much not engaging in good discourse or meeting people where they are. I mean, essentially you guys are, instead of owning the libs, owning the cons, right? And I just don't really think that moves the needle in the conversation. That just creates more unneeded discourse. And if I can, sorry, I don't know.
You're good.
It's just really, once again, drawing upon that. Like with, I guess I'll also go to Bernie Sanders. I think people know where I stand on politics and what organization I was part of. But when you're looking at this big macro view, you see these actual elected officials meeting people where they're at, like with Mondani, and I'm forgetting Bernie Sanders' like comeback tour. It's not comeback tour. Definitely not the Era tour. So my question is, like, with him, he's trying to listen to people on that of where they are. Are you guys offering any like sort of counterpoints, being like actual fiscal policy of like, no, when we're looking at like how Donald Trump is actually screwing over rural areas with Medicaid, stuff like that. I apologize if I'm rambling, but
You're totally fine. I think that's a good question. I think, unfortunately, the problem with Unfuck is that it's more of a collective of people who want to work together. I wouldn't say that it's like this policy-driven thing, as you're kind of pointing out. I would also agree that there are going to be different people's approaches to content in the same tent space that, like, I don't always disagree with. I don't like super love like clipping people out of context to just own the conservatives. I like responding in a more nuanced way as much as possible. So I think that there is some sort of commentary saying like, well, just owning the like cons isn't super great. I think there's two pieces. One of them is if you are so principled that you just principle yourself out of the war, then you're just not participating.
right.
And that's not a good thing. So there's always that trade-off that I think you fundamentally have to make for the sake of efficacy.
So just to sort of ask another follow-up question to that, what tangible changes or moving of the needle have you guys seen by just coming onto campuses and debating with people?
This is only the second time I've done this. I can talk for my content. Most of the content that I do is going and talking to red pill guys, like Myron Gaines. Most of my debates are like Myron Gaines, Tim Pool, these type of actors. I would say my audience is filled with an extremely solid mix of moderate right and moderate left. I get probably 30 to 40 emails a day from moderate right people saying, it's really nice hearing a liberal that's balanced and nuanced. You've really opened my mind. And
I can add, Z has actually gave stats on like how many people they register to vote, how many people like are kind of feeling like, oh, like I'm glad you're here to counter the Charlie Kirk narrative. And as much as I agree with you, it's like this is like a crabs in a bucket, not as much of a molluscan thing. For me, it's like, look, I would rather at least have the backstop right here, but I don't want to turn this into the liberal apparatus and then grow past that and turn this into like an even bigger thing where we're just clip farming because that's the only way we can do things now. It's more of a, yeah, we kind of have to meet them at this rhetoric just because otherwise they're going to dominate the TikTok sphere and they're going to win over tens of thousands of people. I don't want to make the clips, but if people are doing it, I don't think there's anything
No, I
wrong with that.
understand. No, that does make sense. I can see the tangible change coming from there. So, but with those clips, are you guys talking about the real issue? I mean, obviously, culture war gets enough where I get sick of hearing culture war. It is a real thing, of course. But are you guys mentioning like the real issues, like the consolidation of like economic power to the top 1%, stuff like that, the real things dividing people? Or are you guys
I'd say
actually
you've got to, oh yeah.
Excuse me. But if you guys are like actually talking to these conservatives on campus, are you guys actually bringing issues up to light that what you guys and essentially what Charlie Kirk was doing, I sort of see it in the same vein where you guys are distracted from real problems that are separating America. You guys are feeding into that fire.
It depends on which problems you mean, because I think you're going to get a collection of content creators here that this is not their main thing, right? This is the tour that they're going on. When I go back, I'm about to make a video on the Democrats, people getting kicked off Medicaid, like things that I think are materially harming everyone in their day-to-day lives right now. Some of these people might go and make content on racism, ICE raids, that sort of thing. Those things will come up in the conversations, but it's not like, hey, this is UFA and we're specifically talking about this, right? So it depends on which content creator you're talking to, which policies you think are the most important. You have people here that are like anti-MAGA conservatives. You have like super far lefties that are going to be talking about down with capitalism, right? It's a very big deal.
So
Yes.
with that, if the whole goal is to sort of stop this like right-wing unified push of taking in our youth, why don't you guys have a unified message to push? Because then that just sort of becomes this sort of disorganized chaos where you guys are making noise, engaging with people to debate rather than to persuade, it seems.
I basically would say, I think that that's a good critique. I think it's something that can be developed. I think one of the worst things that we often do on the left particularly is when something is imperfect, we just want to drop it because it's not quite right in all of these ways. So we don't really want to get behind it at all. And all we actually do is lose progressive steps towards good things.
Well, real quick, may I? The unified message is not a specific party. The unified message, Unfuck America, as per the title, is America right now is treading into a dangerous fascist consolidation of power. And everyone here is united, no matter where their politics are, against what the current admin is doing. So yes, anti-Trump is not a platform, but countering the narrative that's being pushed by Charlie Kirk, which is 100% one-to-one pretty much pro-Trump, is kind of the unifying message. If eventually we stop this momentum and we get a new president and there are other problems, that's when people like this will actually probably divide and make content against each other because it's like, well, now I don't like that you're passing this policy and you like this policy, but ultimately we all are seeing this as an existential threat to the way this country and the democracy works. Like, huh? Why?
No, I said right.
Oh, okay.
No, I understand. I do have to go learn about Brexit real quick. I'm so sorry. Just to leave
No,
like
thank you
one
for
quick
coming.
statement. Also, thank you guys for watching me. Does this angle look good? But I guess just to wrap this up, with the lack of like centralized message, how can you guys actually sort of fight this sort of fascist regime that's coming into the United States? Because if there's no sort of unity on how we're going to fight this, it's just critiquing the right rather than offering solutions to what's happening.
I think everyone here, correct me if I'm wrong, every single content creator and person here would be voting for Democrats. That's
Yeah,
the
of
like
course,
this is the way to stop this because these are the people that are going to counter this kind of fascist takeover. So that's the message. Like obviously that's going to make the Democrat a big tent party right now, including, you know, never Trump Republicans, but that's got to be the unifying message now. If not, then these people wouldn't all be together. Like I said, it would be 2004, Mercedes would be making a conservative video and I'd be like, oh, and this is why I don't agree with your take on this gun, you know. And
I'm so sorry. I feel like we've been talking over you. I don't mean to interrupt you. Have we been talking over you by any chance?
I know it's different.
Yeah, I was like, we've been talking for a long time.
That's true. I've been kidding. I don't think you guys have been super over talking. I guess like the main thing that I would say in response to this is essentially, I think a lot of people feel that genuinely the like American dream and the American project is dying. It's getting stolen by oligarchs. I think what is it like? The Ellis kid just recently bought like CBC and Paramount, which is terrifying. Like we're actually moving in the footsteps that Putin took to establish an oligarchy and like overrun his country. And so I think like there is a time and place where I think we need to build. The problem is that the moment that you start building, particularly on the left, we're all going to scatter.
Yeah,
because everyone's got a different
A
dream.
lot of infighting.
When you say, why aren't you talking about the core issues? The issue is the core issues that you care about are not necessarily the core issues that like a moderate liberal cares about necessarily, right? Because a moderate liberal is going to be a lot more pro-establishment than probably you
I feel
are.
like a moderate liberal isn't that they don't care about those core issues. I feel like they're getting catered to talk about those core issues, to care about those core issues. And just for my closing remark, I'm very sorry to cut you off and not give you a rebuttal. Or
you've been the most polite person we've
Thank you.
ever talked to, so don't worry about
But
it.
like, when you guys come and engage in cultural war stuff, rather than like trying to be like, no, we're not talking. The Republicans' problem isn't the fact that there's like 6 trans athletes competing in high school sports. The problem is they're trying to distract you from the fact that rents keeps on going up. You cannot afford groceries and all these other things.
We would say that here then. Yeah.
You would?
I would
Yeah,
totally agree.
absolutely. That's something we've probably actually said
But
legitimately.
earlier, you said you have all these different media creators with all these different goals in mind. Why isn't there that unified push, though, to actually have a strategic campaign on how to stop this disinformation and bring people in?
I
It
guess-
seems so unstrategic.
I think what I guess I misunderstood your question. When I say we have this big tent, I think a lot of the things you might say is the unifying message that you would want to see out of this is something that we kind of all agree on, where they're like, whatever kind of not the MAGA thing is a distraction. So it's like, oh, hey, trans athletes, like everyone here is probably on the same page about that. It's like you are using this to distract from some sort of tariff policy, from an Epstein file, from something. All of those people are going to bring that up. And that's why we're able to have this big tent, is because the MAGA stuff is distracting from things. The problem is I identified you as someone who's like maybe anti-capitalist or something. That's not everyone would have that same message, or at the very least, not everyone's super far left. So it depends on which unifying image it is.
Okay, I get that. One final thing. So for moderates, I'm so sorry. I know I always say one final thing.
You're good, you're
I
good.
don't want to go to class. My girlfriend's making me.
Aw.
But one final thing with that. Your whole goal here is to unify the left and persuade those on the right.
I wouldn't say it's the goal of Unfuck is to unify the left. The probably, not that I want to speak for Z, my understanding of the goal of Unfuck is to combat the efficacy of TPU, which was both a media engine and a ground game system.
And those moderates that both, I don't remember if you mentioned moderates, but the moderates that I think you were talking about and trying to say, like, the moderates don't really care about those far-reaching left issues. They could alienate those people. Would you say that?
It could.
It depends on which far left issue we're talking about, right? Like, if we're
just,
talking about
I
like
guess it's just more
transgender
economic, like, populist messages left thing, right?
economic populist messages are very unselling to a lot of moderate people because a lot of the policies that people put forward, like Zoran Mamdani is a good example of somebody who's championed on that. The issue is that liberals don't like Zoran Mamdani because they don't like the idea of a $15 minimum or a $30 minimum wage because
Right.
economic policy would suggest that might not work. So a lot of moderate people don't love economic prescriptions.
And you guys are trying to sort of like cater to that moderate audience that keeps on going to the right, you know, with these like sort of. Am I sorry if I'm like getting a little confused.
I would say that's my audience. It's just tough to speak for Unfuck because Unfuck is really like, we are taking the fight to TPU. That's what it is.
But-
that's the main thing that we care about, and building ground game for media. I care about pulling moderate, right people.
Would you say
I
you
don't know
care
if he
about
does.
pulling moderate?
Yeah, but less. I'm more catering towards moderates than I would be right-wing
And
extremists.
are you
But
guys
yeah,
afraid of like alienating those said moderates
I wouldn't want that.
or like upsetting them?
Yes, but I would never diminish my messaging and not say what I really think because I say a moderate wouldn't like it.
Do you think?
I might.
Do you think to those? I
No, go ahead.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think for both of you, it is potentially putting Unfuck America and its credibility and how it's seen by modern America at risk by?
Oh, sorry, sir. Could you just? You're just in front of our camera.
But would you say that it's putting Unfuck America in your guys' idea of trying to stop and get people over to just common sense? I would have to say, by having an event just nearly a week after Charlie Kirk's death when he was supposed to be here, doesn't that sort of send the wrong message?
Well, we're working with TPU on this event. Like,
It also.
Oh, sorry.
We didn't schedule this in response to his death. This was going to happen. Charlie was supposed to be here.
yeah, we're gonna
So
wait
this
till
was like,
we-
you know, we're still here. We have all the plane tickets. We're going to try to get people to register to vote and get good messaging. But it's, yeah, this is not a haha Charlie Kirk week later.
We
Right.
reached
No,
out to
I understand.
TPU and we said, hey, we don't condone the violence. We don't want that to happen. We do want to protest your ideas, but we want to do through dialogue. That was part of why we were meeting Charlie Kirk where he was, because we believe in that like free speech dialogue. And so we reached out saying, do you want to do a conjoint thing at the event that we were already both planning to do? And they said, yeah, we would love to.
On that, I don't know if this is just like your guys' blanket statement, because I imagine that week is very rough for you guys being juxtaposed to him.
If anything, I think we weren't supposed to speak on UFA's behalf. You're supposed to ask Z. So that might have been our bad. She has a more blanket statement, but
Okay.
yeah.
So just like with that blanket statement, it's just this. Sorry, I got distracted by the Bud Light guy. But
Yeah, what's up?
sorry, I've lost my train of thought. I guess what I'm trying to say before we go, I very much appreciate what you guys are doing. But if we could just have like, and also to everyone watching, definitely go vote for Morons and Donnie. Look into Democratic Socialists of America. Look into Bernie Sanders. Start paying to more economic policy decisions. That's what we should really focus on. And let's just sort of discourse for the sake of discourse.
Yeah.
Thank you for your guys' time.
You were awesome. You're, in fact, I would say you're almost too nice because you could take advantage of us even more by being slightly
high
less.
school in college.
Okay, you got it out of the way. No, yeah, you're awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate your kindness.
Yeah, I basically don't believe in discourse for discourse sake. I think that there are, Piers Morgan is a good example of garbage. It's basically garbage. It's useless. It's just watching your two sides fight. And so I agree that there is a lot of type of debate that
Invite me on, Pierce. Have me on the show,
I think that
Pierce.
this type of discourse is meaningful. I think it does matter. I think it matters for TPU people who have this concoction of what the left is to talk to me. Where I go like, no, I'm for free speech. And they're like, wait, really? And I'm like, yes, obviously. Like, holy crap, it's a miracle. Yes, free speech, right? I think discourse on the ground is like some of the most important things that we can do, and every little bit matters.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Good luck on your Brexit quiz test.
We'll try.
Bye, guys.
I recognize the hat.
Oh, nice to meet you. Thank you for watching.
nice to
my
meet you
stuff.
too.
What was your-
Looking at me because I hate the
Mark,
hat.
it's nice to meet you. And you're, thank you very much.
Just the Bud Light guy.
I'm just the Bud Light guy. Oh, we got a MAGA guy. Do you want to talk?
I think so.
We're talking to people. Would you be interested? Okay.